Hola mi gente, buenos días, bienvenidos a la entrevista con mi amigo Prince de Powder Rule. Bienvenidos.
Ay,
¿Cómo estás?
Aplauso, aplauso, mi gente. Yo estoy aquí como Dios quiere.
Que bueno. Welcome everybody to the TheBeeShine podcast. We have a very special guest, a Queens legend out here. Been in the scene since the 80s. We're going to talk about a lot of things, New York related, music related. So stay tuned for this. Welcome Prince of Power Rule.
Thank you very much, Brian, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. So starting it off, we're in 2022 now, but you grew up in the 80s, 70s and 80s in Shadyville / Hollis, Queens area. Now, when I think of Hollis, Queens, I think of Run-DMC, of course. Do you remember them at a very young age?
Absolutely. My whole rap existence was influenced by Run-DMC, LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper, all these individuals that circulating around us in the Hollis, Queens area. I'm from Shadyville, but Hollis was 2 blocks away. And then Cambria Heights, Laurelton, everything was a few more blocks away. But yeah, we grew up in like a rap town. Like, rap was so prevalent and so big to us that it affected us in a way where it just made our nature different.
Did you see anybody growing up around the way, just being in the areas? Like, who would you see that would be kind of like well-known in the streets when you were a kid?
Well, I actually took the bus, the Q3A with LL Cool J, and he used to go to Cut Creator's house, who lived in Jamaica, Queens. He used to take the bus to 169th Street, and he used to go to his house to go poly and go make music. And then I would be on let's say 163rd and Jamaica Ave by the Coliseum. And then I would see Run going to the electronics store to go buy holiday gifts. So yeah, I was always seeing these individuals around me, and I kind of wanted to be an individual that was in the same type of frame as them.
Are there any movies that you feel represented just kind of like the area where you grew up, or just brings you back? Are there any movies that have like a good representation of like the neighborhoods you were raised in?
Well, I would say that typically someone would say like, oh, Scarface was a pivotal moment in our lives where it made us want to be drug dealers and everything. But for me, the pivotal moment in movie history was Crush Groove. Crush Groove was just so monumental, and like you never seen people from our neighborhood and what we did depicted on the screen that way. And let's be clear, Run-DMC, LL Cool J, the movie was about them. Beastie Boys too, Fat Boys, but that was a Hollis, Queens thing. That's a Russell Simmons thing. So it definitely, it changed our life. And I say our life because it was me and 2 other individuals that were down with Power Rule at that moment, and that's my man Big House and my man Johnny J. So after we came out the movie theater, we actually called Def Jam Records and tried to set up a meeting.
Nice. So before Def Jam Records, I understand that your first single came out on, what was the record label? Revenge Records.
Yeah.
So who was behind Revenge Records? There was a woman who was a teacher, and I don't really know like the holes to fill in for that.
I will say right now, rest in peace to my brother Evil, who just passed away. I love you, and I know you staring down from the heavens at me. Evil was the individual that I used to pitch on the corner. Pitching means selling rock, selling crack, selling coke, selling weed, whatever. I used to do that all the time. And Evil used to hear myself, Johnny J, in house, rock at house parties, rock at park jams, and he thought that we were really good. And he had that insight to where he felt like we could bring it to the studio. So he was the first one with the studio hookup. He was the first one that really made me believe that, yo, we can make it and we can really make a record. Even though we're Latino and we don't rhyme in Spanish, he never wavered on his belief that we could make it. And I rocked with him, and we did it. We actually did it. So Evil is an instrumental part of the whole progression of Power Rule. Power Rule wouldn't be anything without the contributions from Evil.
Yeah, rest in peace, Evil.
Rest in peace.
Because I read an interview where you said that he told you that there's a woman that wants to put out some records.
Yeah, so her name was Dale Schwartz. And rest in peace, Dale Schwartz as well. She was a substitute teacher that worked in this school called 109, where a lot of my brethren went to. They all went to junior high school 109. And she was a substitute teacher there. And she somehow communicated with Eric Villavicencio, Evil, that she would be able to put out records and music, and he got with her, and he got with us, and then it all happened.
I want to know a little bit more about Queens, what it was like growing up in Queens. You ran around with your friends. Tell me a little bit more about like the spots you would go to, to just hang out.
Well, Queens is, a lot of people don't think of Queens as a creative force in music, but when you look back at what Queens has contributed to the music industry, it's monumental. Like, you talk about people like Run-DMC, you talk about your Nas's, you talk about your Mobb Deeps, you talk about your LL Cool J's, you talk about your Salt and Peppers. Like, we really did it. And we weren't the foundation of hip-hop like the Bronx was. The Bronx was the foundation of hip-hop. Nobody's ever going to dispute that. But Queens had a movement of its own that was so powerful that for a certain amount of time, we dominated the rap industry. Like, come on, man, when the LL Run-DMC Salt and Pepper was out, who was fucking with us? Nobody.
Where did you normally go, like, when you would go on dates with girls? Like, where would you take them?
Where I go with dates on girls. Yeah. Basically, I had no fucking money, so I ain't go on dates with girls at all. There's more girls taking me out.
So where they take you?
Yeah, nah, man, it was a young time, and listen, man, the location wasn't even anything that you cared about. You would find locations that you could just be alone together. So whether it be the park, whether it be, going on the subway or whatever, we just found a way to be together and just chill. And, we made the best of what we had. And, nobody was renting hotel rooms back then or nothing like that. We didn't go to a certain location. We just wanted to be around each other's company, and we just hung out. And wherever we were was the spot to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to get people, trying to kind of dig into your memory a little bit to give people like a glimpse of what Queens was like back in the 80s, you know what I mean?
Well, Queens in the 80s, I'll tell you very much. I'm very passionate about it. Queens in the 80s, so we got to start from the 70s in order to get to the 80s. So the 70s were hand-to-hand fights. You know, you shoot a fair one. You fight with somebody, whatever. There might be a knife pulled out or something. Somebody might have a Saturday night special. But once crack came into play in the 80s, it became a construct of automatic weapons and super violence. And that super violence and automatic weapons turned into death and despair, destroying families, destroying the content of your character. Crack changed everything. Crack was devastating. It was devastating on a physical level, and it was devastating on a mental level as well. Because you didn't understand what was what, because crack was so fluent in our day-to-day life. Like, you couldn't live your life without mentioning crack at that moment. You go 84 to 89, that shit was the first pandemic. I mean, and then you just coming off AIDS. So, you know, people look at you crazy if you too skinny, you got AIDS. You got AIDS, you got AIDS. You skinny, you 125 pounds. Nah, man, I'm 125 pounds because I'm 125 pounds. I ain't got AIDS. And then you throw crack into the mix. It was just like double. And it was a tough time to go through, man. And I will say this. I did survive it. I'm still here. I'm still drinking that same beer.
So when was the first time you heard a Latino doing hip-hop? Like, I mean, rapping. Let me ask that again.
Well, my earliest recollection of seeing a Latino image in hip-hop was Ruby D. My name is Ruby D, and I'm a Puerto Rican, but you may think I'm black by the way that I'm speaking. And, you know, that was in Wild Style and Fantastic. You know, that's my first connection that actually we could do this. And Charlie Chase was his DJ. So it's just like you had two Puerto Ricans in a legendary group. And I just felt like, you know, it was possible for me to do this because I saw them do it. And then later on, maybe about a year or two later, I just gravitated so much to Tito from the Fearless Four. Tito from the Fearless Four was the most magnetic individual that I ever seen in my life. I went to USA Skating Ring on Roosevelt Avenue on 74th Street in Jackson Heights. And they were performing at USA. That was the name of the skating ring, USA. And when Tito came out, he had that two-piece leather suit. I think it was gray, actually, and he had a pair of Cazals on. The way the girls were screaming for him and everything, I was just like, I want to do that. So Tito was the biggest influence in my rap career, period. There's nobody more influential than the devastating Tito to me.
What's your favorite Fearless Four song?
I like F4000. F4000 is my shit. Tito was killing that. So people say Problems of the World Today. They say Rockin' It. F4000 is my shit. I definitely am a fan of the Fearless Four. The way they all rocked together was incredible. But, I mean, I'm a young Puerto Rican kid, and I see this Puerto Rican dude out there doing his thing. I gravitated towards him.
So I understand the timeline to be Chuck D came to a show that you were performing at, and he said, you need to get with this guy named Bobbito, who's at Def Jam, and he can find an opportunity
Way to
for
do
you.
your research, Brian.
And then Bobbito somehow led you to the way of...
It's called with Poetic Groove with Carmelita Sanchez and Jerry Davis.
To Poetic Groove,
yeah,
right?
So I'm at a show one time. I'm doing a show in, I don't know if it was Uniondale or Roosevelt or whatever, but some part of Long Island. And Leaders of the New School was on the bill as well. And I came off stage, and Chuck D approached me, and he said, call this man, that's your people. He didn't say that he was Puerto Rican, but he identified that this individual might have something in common with me. And he just happened to be Puerto Rican and was Bobbito. And Bobbito became Power Rule's manager for a short amount of time, but he was very instrumental on getting us our deal with Interscope Records with Poetic Groove, Carmelita Sanchez, and Jerry Davis.
What I also read was that you got an advance from signing with Poetic Groove, and then you were just partying. Party. So I want to talk about that.
What are you supposed to do when you're 21 years old and you get thousands and thousands of dollars? Like, I didn't know how to act. You know, the first thing I did when I got my advance was I went to Canal Street and bought the biggest gold chain they possibly had. I went to Canal Street. I was in the middle of a studio session, and my man Daddy Reef was there too. It was Daddy Reef, Axe, Evil, and whoever was engineering at the time. I'd be like, I'll be right back. And that brother Axe, he said, what you gonna do, go buy a big gold chain? And I didn't even answer him. But that is exactly what I was gonna do. And I walked to Canal Street, and when I walked there, I saw the guy in the store, and I said, have you ever heard of Big Daddy Kane and Rakim? Well, I want the chain that they have. So he gave me the biggest chain they had in the store, and I bought it. And back then, it was it's like $2,500 for that chain. I don't know what it would be worth now, but I spent $2,500 on that chain. And I was kind of embarrassed that I got that chain. So when I went back to the studio, I was able to put the chain in my pocket. And Axe was just like, come on, man, just do it. Show me. He knew it. He saw it all over my face. And then I took it out and I put it on, and they were like, ooh. And then they all tried it on, and they all put it on. Daddy Reef put it on. Axe put it on. They all wanted to chill with that chain for a second, but, you know, it was just some real hood shit, man. You know what I'm saying, man? It feels like it represents success. So I just did it, and I felt like I was successful at that moment. The interrogation from my boys had me just be like, all right, man, fuck it. I did do it. Here it is. Look at it. And I don't regret it at all. It was a beautiful thing. And I love looking at pictures of me in that big gold chain. Yeah, get 'em, P.
Was that the chain that I had sent you the picture? Yeah,
you told me to wear the same outfit today, but unfortunately I could not.
I really just like the hat that said Texas on it.
Yeah, you know, that was a dope-ass hat back then because it was off-white with the brown Texas on it. Back then, that Texas hat was indicative of a starter cap that we used to wear. So starter caps were basically the first new era. New era caps, it all came from Starter. Starter started it first.
I want to see if you can, like, remember that time period of you just partying like crazy. Like, if there's any memorable kind of moments or things. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, yo, I regret it. It could be like, yo, we did this crazy thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. So, once I got my advance from Virgin Publishing and Interscope, it fell upon the summer of 1991. And that summer of 91, with that amount of dollars that I had, I went berserk. And I can tell you, you want to talk about party situations? So I'll give you a day. So one day I go to the Red Zone. Red Zone was DJ'd by Funkmaster Flex. It was a daddy's house party, so it's Puff Daddy and it's Jessica Rosenblum that are promoting that party. I went in there with my giant gold chain, chilling, and there were a lot of people there that night. Curious was there, Kid Frost was there, Cypress Hill was there, Busta Rhymes was there. I could go on, and I remember that I actually, before people were really popping bottles, I bought everybody bottles of Moet that night. I sent it to all the tables, and I bought everybody Moet because I learned that from the clique I was in, the Ballbusters, when we used to go to Roseland. When you was really showing off, you bought champagne. So I took that and brought it to the rap party, and I bought bottles of Moet and gave them out to everybody. So that was a good day partying.
Your first album came out in 91.
Right.
You had some singles around 89 that started.
89 and 90.
Yeah, so you're one of the, if not the first Latino to officially release a record, solo artist.
No, listen, if you really want to be very specific about this whole thing, and I think about this all the time, but Rocksteady Crew had a record out. They're all Puerto Rican. Rocksteady Crew had, hey, you, the Rocksteady Crew, show them what you do, make a break, make a move. So they actually got the first deal that I remember. And then you had Mean Machine. They were on, I think they were on Enjoy Records and everything. But I think that I could take credit for being that first image and that person that it was not a novelty record. It was just a hood record. And I came out with the hoodest shit possible. And it rocked. And it was everywhere. And we took our own money. The way that we got our money, we took it and we made a video. We put out the record. And fast forward, 98.7 KISS, WBLS, WBAU, 93.3, BET, hosted 2 times, MTV Raps, The Box, Video Music Box, all of that was off of our independent venture. There was no machine behind us. We were the machine behind us, and we actually made it work. So it was embraced in Latino neighborhoods all over New York City because they've never seen that type of image before. And I would walk through the streets of Corona. I walked on 37th Ave in Corona, and people would lose their mind. I'd be in a Queens Center Mall in Elmhurst, and people would lose their mind. I remember my girlfriend at the time would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're so popular. And I was just like, I can't believe it either. But it was a nice feeling, man. And especially it was a great feeling when the first time I was sitting there watching BET and I saw Smooth come on. That was probably one of the greatest moments of my life because the black community actually embraced me as one of their own.
Oh, that's dope. So when you were, really popular at this time, your record Smooth was out, who were some of the artists that you became close with, became friendly with?
Pre-Curious, before Curious came out, I met Curious when I went to go beat up with the Bobbito at Def Jam off of that Chuck D thing. So Chuck D sent me over there. I met Bobbito, and Curious was working at Def Jam. And then I met him, so me and him got close, and we still close to this day. Like, that's my brother. Artists that I became close with was Large Professor, Busta Rhymes, Dinko D, Charlie Brown, Fife. I think those guys were the closest to me because we all kind of lived around the same neighborhood. So we would be in Powerhouse where Kid Capri was DJing, and then we all didn't have a car, but my man Axe had a car, and Axe lived in Hempstead. So Fife would jump into the car, Busta Rhymes would jump into the car, I would jump into the car, Dinko D would jump in the car, and we'd drive from Powerhouse, and then we'd have to stop in Flatbush because Buster had to go get weed. So Taheem, and he had to get his weed, and we got the weed, and then we start snapping on each other on our way back, and then they would drop off Fife, where he lived in Jamaica, Queens, and then drop me off where I lived in Jamaica, Queens, and then Axe would proceed to go on to Uniondale and Hempstead with Buster and Dinko.
Well, there's certainly a lot of Latinos out on the West Coast. Right. When did you get your first experience to visit the West Coast, and, what was that like?
It was a totally different situation, so I'll give you a scenario that I went through. So I was signed to Interscope Records at that time, and they booked us a show at the LA Coliseum, opening up for Kid Frost. Okay. But there was also on the outskirts of the actual Coliseum, they were doing shows, and I did a show out there, which I tore up. But I actually went there with two black individuals that worked at my label. And I saw a real disdain for them by the Mexican community. And I wasn't used to that because Puerto Ricans and blacks, we all grew up together in New York City, and we loved each other. I never saw a division like that. So it was a little bit shocking at the moment, but later on I came to realize that, that might just be an isolated event. But I love the West Coast. But the thing the West Coast didn't give to me was my record label didn't understand that I was from New York City and not from the West Coast. So Jimmy Iovine in particular, he just didn't get it. So, that was a negative West Coast experience, but my positive West Coast experience is me in Cypress Hill. Man, you look at the cover of that Insider magazine that Esteban Orial shot, where you see me, Pun, Fat Joe, Sick Jackin', Cypress Hill, Tony Touch, Funk Dubious, all of us on that cover. And we had a connection then, and that connection has never been broken since then. And Muggs is my boy to this day, man. I learned a lot about work ethic from DJ Muggs. DJ Muggs probably is the hardest working individual that I know in the record business. This man told me like 10 years ago, you got to come out with 4 albums a year. I was like, 4 albums a year?
What year was this?
Man, I think it was 99, 2000. And this is prior to him coming out with the album with the Genius.
Oh, yeah.
And then he hasn't stopped since. Muggs is relentless with it. Like, that motherfucker used to wake me up in the morning and be like, Paru, get the fuck up. Let's go, we're going to the studio. They're all influenced by Public Enemy. I sat down there with Muggs many a time, and he talked about how the Bomb Squad was so influential in his progression as a producer. So Muggs always got a sound. And that's the thing about hip-hop that's lacking right now. There's no signature sound no more. You knew when the EPMD record came on. You knew when De La Soul record came on. You knew when the Public Enemy record came on. You knew when the Eric B. and Rakim record came on. You knew when the Tribe Called Quest record came on. You could tell by the first 2, 3 notes. Now that's been diluted and you don't see it as much. So, like Jada said the other day, everything is a Ferris wheel and it's gonna come back.
What about, you mentioned, Jimmy Iovine not understanding you being out here in New York. Did you have much of a relationship or a rapport with him? No, not at all. Like,
I probably had like 2 meetings with Jimmy Iovine and everything. And to tell you the truth, I'm a big fan of Fleetwood Mac, okay? I'm a big fan of Tom Petty. Like, I'm a rock dude at heart. I'm a rock dude. But at that moment when I met Jimmy, I didn't realize that he was the production force behind those records. I probably would have been more impressed, but I wasn't impressed at the time because I didn't really know who he was.
Okay.
But now, in retrospect, fuck, I sat down with Jimmy Iovine. That's an accomplishment in itself.
That definitely is. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Now, would you say that you, for lack of a better term, paved the way for people like Psycho Les, Fat Joe, Big Pun, those guys, because you had such a popular record and being Latino in New York?
Yes. And this is why I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because the image of Power Rule was the first image of an all-Latino group that didn't rhyme in Spanish, that rhymed in English, that made street music. And those guys continued to make street music afterwards. So to say that you didn't see me in 1989 on Video Music Box, you ain't see me in 1989 on Yo MTV Raps, you ain't see me in 1989 on BET, you didn't see me in 1989 on The Box where you had to buy your video and I would see it 25 times in a row that you paid for it. Come on, man, you know you saw me. I know you saw me. So, yeah. And you didn't hear me on BLS and Kiss? I've never had conversations with those guys. I wish I could, though, because I wonder if they even recognize what I did. Because it feels like there's a cutoff point from that mid-'80s and then late '80s. Like, there was a dead silence with Latinos in hip-hop. You were lingering off of Marky D from the Fat Boys, right? You were lingering off of Tito from Fearless 4. But for a couple of years, we weren't very present in the public eye. And I think I changed that.
So let's talk about some of your favorite artists, your favorite rappers. Let's just talk about number one, what you were telling me in the
Number
cafe.
one, the best rapper alive is Kool Rap. I don't care. Like, you know, I love Rakim to death. I love Big Daddy Kane. I think Chuck D is the most influential rapper ever because that motherfucker took you from wearing a gold chain and made you put on a Black Fist medallion and made you wear a fucking X hat and had you talking about Malcolm X and Farrakhan. Who the fuck does that?
That's incredibly
It's very
influential.
easy to be ignorant and fucking run around with gold chains and shit. This motherfucker was anti-gold chain and fucking super positive
educated
and military about what he expressed. Like, dude, I hear them stories about Rick Rubin basically have to force himself upon Chuck D to actually make a record. So Chuck D is the most influential, Public Enemy is the most influential group of all time. But I think the best rapper of all time is Kool Rap. Put Kool Rap's first song that he came out with. And meanwhile, I already had like 3 Kool Rap demos before he even came out. Before, it's a demo. Listen to the words and it's a demo. Put any rap record you want against that. There's more information in one line of a Kool Rap song than there might be in anybody's entire rap song. Kool Rap is the best rapper alive. He is incredible. Like, spectacular. Like, he's the anomaly. He's the anomaly.
What's an example of one of those lines that was like...
People in the audience, Kool Rap is my name. I rap rhymes and insert them inside your brain. He's DJ Polo, the man behind. He rocked the turntables while I'm rocking the rhymes, so get the demo. That's what I remember him for. But come on, when I was 5 years old, I realized it was a role. Dude, that's how he started his record. When I was 5 years old, I realized it was a role. Shit, Roll to the Riches? Come on. Stop it. Kool Rap's the best. The best.
That's dope.
And he's from Queens, Elmhurst.
What else do you want people to know about the floral sweatshirt that you're wearing?
Well, this is some polo shit, nigga. Anyway, nah, man, what I want people to really know or recognizes that the Leftovers NYC, it isn't Power Rule. It's a different movement. You know, this is a movement that fights against gentrification and colonizes, taking away our homeland and making us feel like we're visitors in our own space. That shit is crazy to me. Like, I walk around here and people just trying to zap the New York out of me. Like, I'm not allowed to be New York no more. I'm not allowed to talk the way that I talk. I'm not allowed to dress like I dress. It's fucking crazy. So, please pick up that Engraved in New York. Please pick up that LeBron, not LeBron James, Lolita LeBron, Puerto Rican revolutionary. And it's on DistroKid, so you got that Apple Music, you got that Spotify, you got that Bandcamp, you got all that. You know, we do it, man. We do it on the highest level. If you actually give a chance and listen to this project, it might resonate with you in a way that's very emotional and fitting for your life, maybe in particular. This is what my man Curious calls me. I'm gonna change my name to Juan Brady.
Juan Brady.
Because I'm a Puerto Rican leader of men.
So everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this interview with Puerto Rican Juan Brady, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments on what you liked. And we will see you next time. We're out here in New York. Peace.
Peace.